Patch 1223B is the last patch of the year, and it will stay around for a couple more weeks yet. To start your new year with the best comp possible, here are our top 5 comps for you to try. Our first pick was one of the main reasons why Riot decided to do a B patch. The ultimate raid boss Jax found a way to become relevant again. So you'll play a full brawler comp with Jax, Riven, Echo, Soraka, Sejuani, Lee Sin, Vi and Blitzcrank. This comp spikes insanely hard in the mid game, as you'll be able to play 6 beefy brawlers with more than enough damage in your Jax. But to build a winning board, you want to slow roll at level 7 to hit both Jax and Riven 3-star. Speaking of those potential 3-stars, especially in a big beefy comp like this one, you really need to get that Guinsoo's Rageblade on your main carry Jax. That's because your fights will be long, so you'll have enough time to make the item work. Then go for a rapid fire cannon so that he doesn't get interrupted while stacking up his attack speed, and give him a Bloodthirster for the extra sustain last. Your secondary carry is your other 3-cost brawler, Riven. She's going to be our main tank in this comp, and she only wants defensive items to serve Jax as a shield as long as possible. Great choices for Riven are Warmog's Armor, Bramble Vest and Redemption. Lastly, there's also Soraka, who you want to use for everything AP. Ideally, you can give her 1 mana item in blue buff, since you'll also play Heart, and the more she casts, the more AP your team gets. Which in turn means the bigger of a raid boss your Jax is going to become. For your augments, this choice is pretty obvious, as this is a comp built around brawlers. So if you either see Jax carry or Sejuani support augment, don't overthink it and commit yourself to this comp. The same goes for any brawler Heart, Crest or Crown, as these will make it possible for you to play 8 brawlers on level 8 by having the emblem on your Soraka. If you always want to keep up to date on which hero augments to pick for your comp, then check out our free Set 8 overlay and bring this comp guide into your next game. Number 2 on our list is the strongest low-cost supers board in the current patch. The Mascots are back with Yuumi, Galio, Nunu, Alistar, Nasus, and the supers trio Malphite, Lee Sin and Gangplank. As this is a supers slow roll comp, you want to 3-star as many units as you can. That's done best with a full 5 loot streak, so you want to reach that 50 gold as soon as possible. You can choose between slow rolling at level 5 or at level 6 during stage 3, but that depends on how many copies of your 1-cost units you hit. When it comes to your carries, make sure you have all the items you need for Yuumi first. She's a one-shot monster at 3 stars, which is why you really need a blue buff on her to make her work. Then you just want more damage items like Giant Slayer and Jeweled Gauntlet. Your other mascots are all melee and frontliners, so send everything defensive their way. Their job is to stall the fight as long as possible to make our cat in the back kill the enemy team one by one. Most often you'll turn Galio, Malphite or Lee Sin to your main tanks with items like Sunfire Cape, Warmog's Armor, Dragon's Claw, Bramble Vest and so on. A good rule of thumb here is to throw the tank items on the unit that you're most likely to hit 3-star first. For augments, Yuumi's hero augments are obviously your best bet, especially her carry augment Predatory Precision. This one will make her ultimate crit so you can replace her Jeweled Gauntlet for a sustain item like Hand of Justice or Hextech Gunblade. Malphite's Guardian Spirit support augment is also really strong, and lastly, any mascot Heart, Crest or Crown on Lee Sin will allow you to play your late game setup at level 7 already. Next up we have the infamous Magic Orbs. Taliyah is the most consistent AP carry so far this patch. You want to play her alongside other Spellslingers and Star Guardians such as Annie, Janna, Syndra, Echo, Yuumi, Lux and Alistar. As the only real default leveling comp in this video, you want to level up to 7 at the start of stage 4 and roll to find a copy of your main carry, Taliyah. Depending on how strong your lobby is, you could also continue rolling to find a copy of Echo and activate Star Guardian 5. Then you'll go to 8 in stage 5 to find the 5 costs Syndra and Janna. As we've mentioned already, Taliyah is the main carry in this comp. For her itemization, you want to go with almost only AP items, in Spear of Shojin for the extra mana regeneration, a Jeweled Gauntlet for the damage, and Hextech Gunblade for the extra sustain. Your second most important unit to itemize is Annie. As she'll be on her own in the front line, you definitely want a Gargoyle Stoneplate first, then go for more HP in Warmogs, and lastly something like a Bramble Vest. When it comes to augments, any Taliyah or Annie hero augments are just by far your best choices here. Then you've also got Burning Spirit, Stoneweaver or any mana augments that will help all of our Star Guardians like Blue Battery. Another S tier comp for this patch is another comp that uses mainly units of one and the same trait, and it will help you climb as fast as they can auto attack. There's just no better trait for that than by playing a full duelist board, and in this comp your team will consist of Nilah, Vayne, Zed, Zoe, Fiora, Yasuo and Gangplank. This one is yet another slow roll comp, meaning you want to stabilise with a copy of your main carries Nilah and Vayne at stage 3. There you want to place 6 duelists on level 6, and then ideally also replace the 1-cost duelist Kayle with the highest cost duelist Zed, who's also your late game carry. As duelists are known to dish out good damage, you'll ultimately lack frontline in this comp. That's where Nilah and her specific itemization comes into play though. In the best case, you'll give her 3 lockets of the Iron Solari to load up your frontline with shields for days. But if you can't build multiple lockets, it's also fine to give her those usual tank items like Warmog's Armor or Dragon's Claw. Our other 3-cost duelist is the backline of Vayne, and she'll be the carry who dishes out the damage from a safe distance. You want to go for a Last Whisper, a Runar's Hurricane and a Guinsoo's Rageblade on your Vayne. Zed is the other damage dealing duelist in this comp who will always center the enemy backline by placing him on the Hacker Hex. As another AD carry, he'll need a lot of bows and swords, so try and give him an Edge of Night, a Rune Knight's Hurricane, and of course a Giant Slayer. For your augments, you should definitely pick up any Nilah or Vayne hero augments like Jubilant Veil or Into the Night, which will also grant you Edge of Night for your Zed. Whenever you do play Duelist though, you should always look out for any Duelist Heart, Crest or Crown, as this will allow you to fit in more Hacker or Frontline, which you do kinda miss in this comp. The last comp on our list is as flexible as our Void Meteors comp from last time, but this time it does use a couple of different threats. You're going to play the monsters Cho'Gath, Vel'Koz, Rammus and Urgot. This time you'll support those monsters with a lot more mana and utility units in Janna, Alistair, Sivir and Galio. Your 3 cost units are the units you want to itemize, so you'll ultimately spike your board if you manage to hit all of these 3-star. That's done best on level 7, which is why you want to save up gold and start slow rolling for Vel'Koz, Cho'Gath and Rammus during stage 4 and 5. The great thing about a threats focused comp is you can always slot in other different threats you see along the way. This time, however, Vel'Koz is your AP carry, and he wants a Spear of Shojin first. Then go for some damage in Jeweled Gauntlet to potentially one-shot the enemy carry, and lastly a Static Shiv to shred enemy resistances. The other 3-cost threat Cho'Gath is your main tank and the main form of your utility. His positioning is really important as you want him right on the edge of the front line. For items, just throw anything defensive on him to get as many ult casts as possible. Warmog's Armor, Dragon's Claw and Bramble Vest are ideal. Finally, you just want to dump all of your remaining items on Rammus. He might even love tank items more than Cho'Gath, but it's fine to treat him as a second priority frontliner. For your augments, you should definitely pick up any Vel'Koz or Cho'Gath hero augments like Frostburn or Cosmic Barrier for more tankiness, but there's no better augment for a threat focused comp than High Roller. It'll give you 3 loaded dice, and if you use it on a threat unit, well, you'll only get threat units. Using it on a threat unit at level 4 will actually show you only your 3 cost threats, which will make 3-starring them a piece of cake. That's going to wrap up our top 5 comps that you have to play from our Challenger experts. If you want to stay on top of the meta over the holidays, make sure to check out many more comps with full guides over on our website. The link is in the description as always.